Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. I'm CW. I know I've seen better days. You're probably seeing this on March 28th, so I'm probably not going to be back for a little while. That's my surgery day. But we're going to have some fun today because this is what I wanted. This is what the channel is all about. Strange and unusual facts, fun, history, books, occasionally a funny story, stuff like that. But, number one, students. Todd, there are so many useful things about Hulu. Here you're writing to me about what does it you were watching Frasier. That's about a 30-year-old show. It was at one time considered one of the most smartest shows on TV because Kelsey Grammer and David Hyde White, they played psychiatrists and they were siblings. That's another word for brothers, and they use big words. And your next homework, I want to see you pull words that they use, and you have to look them up and try to, you know, um, use them in everyday conversation while you're talking to Eli at Publix or something like that. But it was considered one of the smarter shows because a lot of people had to go, you know, watch TV with a remote and a dictionary because people who like to grace things with their conversation and make people think and maybe sometimes throw a word at them, you don't try to do it to stress your intelligence. You try to do it for rhythm to add to the conversation. And maybe that word sticks going, what does that mean? Because maybe I'd like to use that one of these days. But yeah, it's one of the smartest old sitcoms there is. But uh, we're going to address when he says Copernicus called, you're not the center of the universe. Okay, let's go to Nikolai Copernicus. In the old days, and I'm talking ancient, Ptolemy, the Agamus, all this pre science stuff, Aristotle issues, everything was what they call geocentric in belief in the educated world, which we're talking about Greeks, Romans, stuff. In the year 150 AD, most of the Greek society or educational society had pretty much moved towards Constantinople. So they had formulated this. Well, Nikolai Copernicus later on established that, hey, we're not we're not geocentric, which meant Earth is the center of the universe. We're heliocentric, which means the sun is the center of our universe, our solar system. And you can't blame the guys before him because, if you didn't know any better, you got up, you watched the sun go up and go down, and all those wanderers, the stars, the planets, rather than the stars, they travel too. We're not moving, they're moving. Well, yeah, the guys in the big, Vatican, they didn't like that because somehow that didn't sit well with them. No, God made us special, so we must be the center of the universe. Never mind the fact that he created us and he should be the center of the universe. But that never goes away, okay? It's like Moses. God knocked down Moses at the burning bush. Take off your shoes, you're on holy land. Look, I don't have time to explain this, but Nikki's going to be right in 1,000 some odd years. But no, he doesn't have time for that. But that's what he means. Centered, geocentric, earth centered, heliocentric, sun centered. Just for us. That's what it means. You're not the center of the universe. Not everything evolves around you. That's what it means. So now go ahead, feel free to use that with all the people you meet at Publix or something like that. But yeah, I want to see a word list when I get out of the hospital, especially from those words that him and Niles use back and forth. So you can start. You don't need to worry about the French words because it's just French. Ah, yes. But I wanted to have fun today because there are some things I just really enjoyed, and I start. I'm sorry, I do. I slow down sometimes, and it's just one of those things. My best energy is like 5:30 in the morning, and after that, it starts to go down pretty quick. To tell you that I look forward to this is I don't look forward to this, but I have no options. So gun ho, we go. Something I want to hit on first, technology wise, the space shuttle. One of the primary things it did first went from 0 to 100 miles an hour in 8 seconds, just in time to match the 1968 Ford GT. So I guess, well, you got that going for you, NASA. Um, there's a couple of places in the 17th century. I always like this. So that would be like, what would that be? The 1600s. There was one place in Vermont during this time frame. You couldn't go without a firearm. Any answers? That's right. Church. I don't know. I guess it was pretty rough in those neighborhoods, but you had to show up to church with a firearm. Just required. Now, personally, I could never see Bernie showing up anywhere, other than, some sort of public job, and let's face it, his cheese has slid off the cracker. That whole party, it's not even a party anymore. It's a dumpster fire. But I don't want to do politics. I want to do fun stuff. I mean, that'll take care of itself. Um, one of the first phone directories. I remember growing up watching people rip phone books in half. Never could do that. I know there was a trick. But in 1878, New Haven, Connecticut, the the phone directories were printed with people's names in it who had phones. The numbers weren't printed because back then you got in touch with a call girl, put that another way, an operator who would connect you to that person because only she had the magic numbers. So okay, so this is like the third or fourth time constantly getting interrupted by it's hard being a caregiver when personalities change after a stroke. I didn't have a stroke. Someone else in my household did. And they just become different people. But that's not here or there. I'm just going to move on. Hell with it. So, anyway, the Great Yarmouth Bridge collapse killed 79 people. in 1845. Shocking to most because you think people that show up wouldn't die at the hands of nature just because they were interested in watching a fat clown get drug across a bridge in a tub by a pair of geese. But that's what happened. A clown. Another reason you just don't like those guys. One group of people that almost always end up with most of job site injuries. I always thought, firefighters, police officers, garbage men, refuge men, hairdressers, always a cut above. So, yeah. 2015, after a state visit to Kenya by Barack Obama, two Kenyan women named their sons, wait for it, Air Force One. You thought I was going somewhere else, right? Yeah, well, just thought I'd help you out there. First commercial suppositories. I don't know how. I love to see the testing behind this. The first suppositories sold to the general public. They were covered with cocoa butter. How do you know? Why? Why would you do In ancient Rome, most women they weren't given a first name. We've delved in this before. A power couple back then, first century, was probably a couple of guys. Women were just kind of a breeding stock. Watch the kids. They didn't think much of them. They didn't paint them. They didn't sculpt them until much later on. Yeah. William the Conqueror. Yeah, you remember him, right? Normandy, all that good guy. He grew so fat he couldn't get on his horse. Or maybe he could, and the horse just said, God, get off. So, to help him lose weight, he employed the alcohol based diet, just alcohol, and it in positive results because, well, I don't know how much weight he lost, but he died the next year. So the horse was better. The most remote, I think maybe I covered this before. The most remote point on the globe in the Earth, South Pacific somewhere, Point Nemo. You're closer actually to the International Space Station than you are to anything else on the surface of the Earth. Point Nemo. Yeah, it's a hole in the wall, that's for sure. Ah, the Wellington boots. Interesting story. First of all, I don't know how they had anything to do with Wellington. Basically, they were script out, laid out, designed by a German, pretty much named by an Irishman, made by American shoemakers, and basically worn by poor French peasants. The Wellington boot. In a 2015 poll, this is just maybe politics is not for everybody. 2015, a poll. 30% of the Republicans and I think like 19% of Democrats that were interviewed for this were all in favor of bombing a city known as Agrabah. Of course, it wasn't real. It was from the Disney movie Atlanta, uh, Aladdin. I'm sorry, I got Robin Williams stuck in my head. So, yeah, let's go ahead and bomb the cartoon city. Why don't we paint a wall up with a coyote? A group of unicorns, that's called a blessing. Duh. A group of giraffes? Well, that's a tower. Now that makes sense. The term noon, Noon, basically, when it came about, meant the ninth hour of the day, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now it means, noon, whatever that is. Uh, Big Brother taught Winnie the Pooh how to add and subtract. Yeah. H.G. Wells taught A.A. Millan mathematics. Look that up. Yeah. The word Nile, the word Nile, it just means river. So the river Nile means river, river. As we advance further in the world of technology, more safe selfies have killed people than sharks. Just step back a little bit further. Woo! In 1947, the term flying saucer was misconstrued because the pilot later said it was more like a boomerang. A boomerang. 1947, a boomerang, which kind of resembled the Northrop top secret flying wing that was being developed in the 1940s. They also developed the B 2. Surprise. Yeah, you can trust the press because all they're going to do is try to sell you a paper and clickbait. A boomerang. Is that important? Yeah, kind of. I always said that was fun. Yeah, but that's one of my favorite things. Roswell. What crashed in Roswell in 1947? Absolutely nothing. Nothing crashed in Roswell. Nothing crashed, period. A weather balloon went down about 72 miles northwest. Ah, boy. But what else do you do when all you do is, you know, sell milk products? You got to find something. I'm sorry. Did I go off? Well, that's the way it goes. I hope that was fun. I enjoyed it. I didn't want to do anything too serious, but I kept having issues here, and I still do. I hope everything turns out, and I hope to see you on the other side. Have a good day.